In the brand new Quinnipiac University survey, Biden holds a 4-point advantage over Trump.
So we're horse racing, getting all these polls, and we're going to be getting them, right? 2024, we're going to get horse racing polls just repeatedly. Now, Quinnipiac is a university. It's a think tank. They have a polling center, and they do these polls, and they've shown Trump ahead, Biden ahead. And the thing about a poll is it's a lot of people don't like them, and they say, oh, they can show anything. They really can't. What they do is they show you something. They show you something about a group of people that you ask questions of at a particular point in time. Now, this may give you greater insight into a larger group of people, or it may give you insight into what's going to happen in a future point in time. But there's always this gap. And polls right now, and prepared to be bored because this is boring AF politics, right now, they have just these huge headwinds in trying to be predictive of the future. One, it's the future. We're not nearly there. And we're so far away, the poll has to do things like their question, right, is if the election was held today and these were the candidates, who would you vote for? Clearly a hypothetical. As we get closer to the poll, they will start asking people, who do you intend to vote for? Now, sometimes you'll get the, will the election be here today, right? You'll get that at different times. But as we get closer, whether or not it's in there, the intention gets mixed up. But more importantly, polls now are just of registered voters. They don't have what is called a likely voter filter. And this is the really boring stuff here. A likely voter filter tries to figure out from your respondents the likelihood that they're going to vote. Because in the United States, we have very low turnout, which means we have huge numbers of people who are going to stay home. And when you look at the Quinnipiac poll that they just took, when they asked, are you going to vote for Biden, Trump? And they gave people vote for someone else, not vote, or undecided. Undecideds were like 1%, right? No one was willing to say that, because Trump, Biden, you're there. And, so only like 5%, like 2% said I'd vote for someone else or I wouldn't vote. So no one's saying they're not going to vote, right? And so only 5% are not going to, are missing, right? Between the undecideds and all. And come on, we know it's way more than that. We know that massive numbers of registered voters are not going to show up. And in fact, that is pretty much half the competition between parties nowadays, is getting turnout, right? It's less about changing people's minds, convincing people that Biden is better than Trump or Trump is better than Biden. It's about getting them to actually go out and frickin' vote. And so at this point, the poll does not have a likely voter filter because we don't know. It's too far away. As we get closer, polls will start asking, and what's the likely voters filter? It's a series of questions that attempts to figure out whether or not someone is actually voting. And they can be more, there could be several questions, and having a good likely voter filter or a set of questions that determines in some valid way whether or not this person is actually going to go vote, right? And validity relates to whether the poll reflects reality in some way, the underlying world in some way. And if you have one of those, great. Your polls are going to be more accurate. Without one, we don't know. And so a huge part of the race is just left up in the air. So here we are. I mean, it's February. We haven't got to March yet. But not only can people change their minds about who they're going to vote for, and in some ways, it's weird that we don't have more people making up their minds. That is very often a big thing that frustrates polls. When Reagan ran against Jimmy Carter, up until the election, there were like 10% undecided how they were going to vote, right? I mean, we don't have that. We're polarized. Everyone's made up their mind. What we've got is this question of, will people really show up? Will young people show up? What's going on here? This is a big question. And so right now, these horse racing polls are very theoretical. They're asking a very hypothetical question. and they are not able to determine the key thing that will determine the future election, that is the turnout.